Welcome to another Telling It Like It Is. My name is Jade Alberts, a founder of Peer Guidance. We're a purpose before profit group that loves giving back, loves sharing our knowledge. If you have anything, reach out. Also, give a big shout out. It'll be scrolling across the bottom there. Founders Coffee every Tuesday, 7:30 a.m. at Red's Diner in Kensington. If you want to come out, meet like-minded people, that's great. And of course, we launched, almost 6 months now, our blockchain insurance company. Check it out. All the links are in the chat. You can click on them. But as I always say, less of me, more of my guest makes for a much, much, much better conversation. And Wednesday is my favorite day of the week. And I was at the launch probably about 2 months ago of the Aerospace Innovation Hub, and I am excited about talking today. Mike Attersall, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Jade. Thanks for having me today. Pretty excited to join your podcast. I've listened in before, and yeah, it's a great opportunity to kind of share more about what I'm doing and work we're doing with Innovate Calgary and the Aerospace Innovation Hub.
It's obviously I'm a huge fan. I was one of the original people that are there that are help. I do a ton of work with Innovate. I've had lots of people from Peter to Nima to God. I can go on and on and on about all the great things that Innovate Calgary does, and of course all the hubs that have been here. But this one is going to be special. I mean, I even put on a space background.
I appreciate that. Hopefully I don't get lost in the stars here while we're chatting today.
Well, the good thing is there's no stars on this podcast, you and I, so I'm sure we'll be fine.
Well, that's great. Yeah.
I want to kick in a little bit about you and the past, because you've been at the heart of our ecosystem, helping bring companies to Calgary, for a long time. So before we get into the Innovation Hub, why don't you talk about, how you got into it, why you love doing what you do, and then we'll start talking about the Aerospace Hub.
Yeah, happy to do so. Well, yeah, before I go too far into the past, I'll give you a general background that, being born and raised here in Calgary, Alberta, one of the things I always want to get involved with was working here in the ecosystem. And having gone away to school and done a master's degree in Australia, I was still drawn to being back in Calgary. And from being someone who's born and raised here, I had a lot of friends in the oil and gas sector, but it's nothing that I wanted to do. I wanted to do something a little different. And there's a good technology ecosystem that was here. So I got involved in technology as a project and program manager. I worked for a few different smaller, let's say, scale-up companies and really enjoyed that time over like a 17-year period, and had the opportunity to go work with startups and scale-ups, companies like Hitachi ID Systems. They were a small company called MTech, and got to go through their growth and acquisition by Hitachi. Joined Absorb in the early stages of less than 40 people and saw them grow to over 200, and then spun off and done a couple little startups ourselves, which was one of those things where we quickly learned having clients in just the energy sector, not diversifying, was more of a hindrance to us than part of our actual strategic growth. But really enjoyed my time in that startup and tech ecosystem. And then through my network was asked if I'd be ever interested in working in economic development. And at the time we owned a business, and we had a CrossFit gym right on 17th Ave called Victoria Park CrossFit. And one of my members said to me, "We'd love to have you come in. You know a lot about what's happening in the technology ecosystem. We're looking for a business development manager to represent CED, Calgary Economic Development, in the tech portfolio." So met with their team there. Megan Zimmerman was great. A lady by the name Marlise Hunter was the one who made that introduction. And yeah, we just talked about what CED does. It was really interesting to me to kind of promote Calgary and its growing ecosystem. And yeah, I was able to kind of take the reins, help drive what was happening there. One of the big wins for us during my time was AWS coming in with their data center. That was a big one. And then, through that work, Invest Alberta asked me if I could help them do the same kind of thing we were doing with CD. Got to work with Invest Alberta for a couple of years, and then pivoted and went to the federal government, went to Invest in Canada for economic development. It was kind of during my time there, I really got to discover more what was happening in aerospace, aviation, and defense. Big investments by Lufthansa Technik and de Havilland were a big flag for Alberta, what could be here. And yeah, we got to spend a little more time and attention in that sector. And again, talking to my networks in Alberta, hearing that there was an opportunity to work with the Aerospace Innovation Hub, and they needed a new director to build out some strategy and operations. I said, sure, let's take that on. I wanted to work back with startups and get back to the grassroots. So that's kind of how I ended up here, was that pathway from working in tech to economic development to now with the Aerospace Innovation Hub.
Oh, I mean, that's quite the journey. And thank you for sharing that. I kind of want to dive into that a little bit more. I mean, I think that, I mean, you're the one that can say, being with Invest Alberta, being with CED, and then, seeing the guidelines, like, what have you seen? I mean, tech has been I've been kind of in it for just about 11 years now, and it was kind of not really talked about. And now it's, we get a lot of love, we'll call it in, not only, I was in Toronto this week and people are asking about Calgary. What's going on? How come things are so great there? Well, it just seems the vibe is so good. So how do you think as an ecosystem, since you've been there, have we evolved, and what has made us so, I guess, what's the word? So, why people want to come here, why people want to be part of it?
Well, I think there's a big value proposition of what's happening here in Calgary and across Alberta. There's a lot of talent that we get from the post-secondaries. Having a strong backbone in that energy sector means there's a lot of talent and transferable skill sets that can move into technology. And, I think from what I saw in my experience, Calgary is really a cybersecurity kind of like data management ecosystem that really expanded into groups like fintech and data centers. We're doing more on, the Bitcoin side, through fintech, but, even just seeing the technology sector diversify a little more, it was showing that we have that motivation and entrepreneurship spirit that's here in Calgary. And that, I think, comes from that energy sector where we saw a lot of entrepreneurs and people who've done very well for themselves finding opportunities. And now we're just looking at other portfolios and sectors to do that in. And again, a lot of opportunities coming out for students out of those post-secondary institutions. They're offering a lot of courses across the board, helping the province diversify. And low cost of living, quality of life, those are big factors too when you look at why you might want to move a company or start a company here. And then the support network that we have, from that startup ecosystem, there's lots of groups like Alberta Innovates, Platform Calgary, Edmonton Unlimited. All these guys play a factor to people wanting to be here and starting up their company.
I mean, you obviously mentioned the people, right? The institutions are great. I know the federal government has got great programs that we're able. I'm a huge fan of Alberta Innovation and Mike and what they've been doing in the last few years and making that a more efficient organization. Mm-hmm. But again, the people are the heartbeat of our province, of a company, of anything. And I truly believe that we do have the people here. And our two, I shouldn't say just two, what do we have? 4 universities in this province. It is amazing the amount of incredible students that I see at the U of C, the U of A, the MRU that we work with. And I was just in the University of Saskatchewan here. They flew me in to talk last week. Even what they're doing in their deep tech side, the education side is so important.
Yeah, and you mentioned the people. I find what's different too about Calgary and across Alberta is this willingness to collaborate. You're even seeing, organizational groups like Calgary Economic Development partner with Edmonton Global. They're doing activations together in market outside of Canada. And then you're seeing groups like the University of Alberta and the University of Calgary collaborate together. But from an entrepreneurship side and a startup side, I've always found when I go to events at Platform Calgary, Edmonton Limited, there's a shared knowledge and willingness to kind of work and collaborate together. Whereas when I've been to other markets and conferences and you talk to people about their idea, they're holding their cards pretty tight and they don't want to share it. Whereas, if I approached you, Jade, and you said, here's my idea, I'm sure you would tell me 4 or 5 other people that would be able to help me. And I think that network and that community that we have here in Alberta it's unmatched across Canada.
There is no doubt that it is unmatched. It is my, I would say, our superpower, bar none. I mean, if I can't help you, I sure the hell know somebody that can, and that introduction will be made.
Yeah. Well, and you see it too. Like we leverage things like Stampede, which is coming up in the next few weeks, and aside from it being a great event on the tourism side, it's become this catalyst for business growth and opportunities to happen. And you're seeing a lot of executives that come into these head offices that are here in Calgary they want to network and they want to be out. They want to participate in everything from deals getting done by handshakes to something over a beer, quick discussion, and they're like, let's carry this conversation on forward afterwards. So we have ample opportunities, and we have events that create these emerging possibilities for the province.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I know obviously with the Canadian Bitcoin Consortium, we host our trade mission. We've got 90 people coming in from all over North America. Oh God, Argentina, El Salvador, Ecuador, and of course, supported by the government, the premier, and all the other organizations, and it is a great 5 days. So yeah, Stampede is such a great showcase for I don't know, I guess a 10-day celebration of what is great in this province.
Yeah, and it leads to the next thing for us, at least for the Aerospace Innovation Hub. The next event we have post Stampede would be the Farnborough Air Show. And we're working closely with our partners at the Aerospace Aviation Defense Council. They're organizing a delegation that's going to be going. So again, going back to that collaborative piece, we're slowly taking away the fragmentation that we've seen in the province across aerospace, and it's all being brought together by different groups. And, we're trying to collaborate and work together. So when we go outside of Canada to new markets, we bring a stronger message as a group than we do individually.
No, absolutely. And now we're going to dive into the Aerospace Innovation Hub. Again, I'm talking with Mike Attersall, the director there. If you want more information, the link is in the comment section. Just click on it. It'll take you directly there to find out more information. Again, if you have any questions, ask them in the chat. If we don't get to them, we will answer them later. So, the big, we see a lot of defenses in the federal government. Defense is something that's been talked about, across Canada for the last few years. Obviously, this is something that was in the works. So why don't you share with us how and why, the Innovation Hub was launched here through Innovate Calgary?
Yeah, I think right now there's always been an aerospace aviation sector here. I'll leave defense aside for a second. But when you look at colleges like Mount Royal University, they've run a pilot program for decades. And when you're looking at the University of Calgary and the University of Alberta, and even other universities down south like Lethbridge and Medicine Hat, and now with Red Deer Polytechnic, everyone's getting involved or has had some involvement in the aerospace sector at some point. So I noted that it was a bit fragmented before. And I think what the Aerospace Innovation Hub is going to do is be that connector for all these different organizations. And we're going to bridge what's happening at the education level to industry level and government, and try and find a pathway to work all together. And then with other consortiums that are here, like the Alberta Aerospace Defense Council. And I know Edmonton's recently set up a new regional defense organization. Sorry, I'm forgetting names of it right now. We'll reach out to Brent Jensen, Edmonton Global. He'll tell you all about it. We're kind of stood up to kind of bring everyone together. And for us at the Aerospace Innovation Hub, we kind of have two parts. The first part is working with the startups. We're going to take that ideation of research or early stage startups and try and get them to commercialization. We're probably going to work with companies that are in that TRL level 1 to 4, maybe even up to 7. But then we kind of promote them to move on and see who else in the organization or in our ecosystem can help them. So that's one thing that we're doing at the Aerospace Innovation Hub, and kind of why we're set up is to help those startups. But also on the business front, we're looking for good strategic business partners to help on those B2B connections, but also connect those startups to industry and connect industry to the startup. So it's kind of a bilateral relationship. Can we do that through industry challenges? What are the pain points that we're seeing in industry that they want to share? And then can we be a platform or an event center for monthly get-togethers or networking sessions to talk about what's happening in aerospace, aviation, and defense. So when we look on the defense side now, I think for the federal government, they're seeing ample opportunity in Alberta because we have a lot of the resources, right? There's transferable skill sets. There's an aviation sector that's kind of been there already, but we also have quite a few military bases. There's ample airspace for testing possibilities. There's military bases to do land testing as well. And I think they're looking at that as this is a place to do it. And when we work with the primes that are out there, like the big players that are in the defense sector, they have what's called their ITB requirements or infrastructure technology benefits. So if you're getting that federal contract from the government, you're going to have some sort of commit that you need to invest back into the ecosystem. And I think for us as an aerospace innovation hub, we can be that catalyst or multiplier for them to meet those commitments. So, we're talking with the primes too about how they can work with the Aerospace Innovation Hub, what role we could play in the direction they want to take. And from there, seeing what the next steps possibly could be. As a whole, I think there's a great deal we can do. The federal government has desires to have sovereignty as a topic of discussion. That's a big point of what they're doing on the defense side. And for us, Alberta's done a lot in the manufacturing and the energy sector, and there are companies already pivoting and getting their certifications to manufacture for aerospace and defense.
Well, I think you brought up something really, really neat there, right? I mean, you've dropped some pretty big names that have come here in the past that want to support it. How are these companies, whether it be Amazon or anybody else at de Havilland on those sides, how important is it to have these partnerships, like strategically, bringing people jobs? How does it really help our ecosystem here in Alberta and Calgary, for that matter?
Yeah, well, I think those strategic partnerships are great. It's never just going to be a one-to-one relationship with one company to a startup they're working with. We're probably going to see if we can involve a post-secondary. Maybe we bring in someone like the YYC airport, and then maybe do another project with like a WestJet. So that there's multiple parties are involved, and I think then we start to look at who else can be involved in a project that has applications. So we're not just looking strictly into that aerospace aviation. We're looking at what's aerospace aviation adjacent. So advanced manufacturing is a big thing. You got companies like Fidelity who pivoted from being primarily an energy sector manufacturing company to looking at what they're doing in aviation. I think a bigger percentage of their business now is on that aerospace aviation side. And, there's other organizations out there like Sond Industries who are trying to follow footsteps of what Fidelity's been able to do. So we're looking at connecting the dots across the ecosystem, and then you look at like what's happening in technology and the cybersecurity side, AI, with Amy here and Alta ML. How do we get players like that involved in this aerospace aviation sector too? So it's never just like a one-to-one relationship, but the benefit of it is, we're looking at startups creating jobs and creating those job numbers and getting that IP invested and staying here within Canada, and it's built and made here in Alberta. That's what we want to do. And that is a big attraction for the federal government and those defense companies on the sovereignty piece. So if we can create our own ideas, build those companies here, reinvest in ourselves, and not just build up a startup and exit and go somewhere else, but reinvest those dollars back here, it really does build up the ecosystem and the economy.
Oh, and I love that answer. Again, I'm talking with Mike Attersall, the director of the Aerospace Innovation Hub. Click on the website in the comment section if you want more information. I mean, maybe you can answer this, and maybe you can't. I don't know, but why is Alberta so important for force defense security in our country? Why are we putting so much of an emphasis on this as a province?
Yeah, I'll do my best, and this will be a lot of my own opinion and experience of what conversations I'm having. But I think the cost of doing business here is affordable for a lot of companies, for one, right? Quebec's been fantastic, and we built an amazing aerospace aviation sector there. What I'm seeing trend is it is a bit congested at the moment. And for an organization, let's say like a Boeing, to come and build like a wind tunnel, probably the cost for them to do something like that is more affordable here in Alberta than it would be in Quebec. And with a talent pool that's saturated, I think companies would be fighting for talent, whereas in Alberta, we can attract more people. And whether we're bringing them in from other places because our cost of living is attractive and that quality of life is high here, it's easier to kind of bring people into Alberta on that front. So that I guess that's one aspect of it. The second is the talent pool that's here. We're a highly educated province. Several post-secondaries that offer great programs to draw from, and having that energy sector and that skill set of engineers, there's a lot of, I've noted before, transferable skill sets that could probably be applied to aerospace and aviation. So I think those are all draws for us. And again, Prairie's Can and the funding that they're getting, and ISET and NRC, they're really looking to do more out west as well. And it's great to see that they're seeing the potential. So that adds that supportive network on the financial side too for companies and ease of entry for them.
So, yeah, and great, and thanks for that perspective, because I mean, I think a lot of people maybe sit there, oh, Alberta, why here? Are we just jumping on the bandwagon, or things along those lines, right? But I don't believe that, obviously, and I want to learn a little bit more about what the Innovation Hub offers. Like, what kind of programs are you doing? What kind of companies are you looking for? How do they get involved with you guys?
Yeah. So for us, in terms of the programs that we offer, if you join the Innovation Hub as a member, there are two tiers. For our tier two members have access to our co-working space, which is located in the YYC domestic terminal. They have access to our mentorship programs. We have over 100 mentors that they get 100 hours per year to work with those mentors. And then they get access to any exclusive events that we're hosting, networking opportunities. We work closely with those members for events that happen locally, like DefSec West or the Aerospace Aviation Defense Council Summit, or anyone that's going to something like Farnborough as a delegation. We'll help support them on the networking front and make those introductions. The other side of it too is our tier one membership, which gives them access to our lab that's located at the University Research Park. There's millions of dollars worth of equipment, from CNC machines to laser cutters to water jet cutters. You name it, we probably have it there for anyone to build a prototype and scale themselves up. We also offer an aerospace accelerator program. So that's $200,000 for over a 2-year period. We do a cohort of 2 every year. So we're going to be looking at setting the next one up here soon. So stay tuned to that. You can find that information on our website. But being part of Innovate Calgary, we have other partners that work with us that help support the startups and their innovation, from our tech transfer office to Elevate IP to funding through the University of Calgary's USeed and our new ventures team. So lots of support mechanisms for companies when they join up as a member. And then the one thing we're trying to do is find those strategic partners to come up with great industry challenges. We've worked closely with YYC and had great success with the challenge that we ran with them. WestJet was really successful too with the new app development that we worked with on their front. And we're hoping to find more partners that want to be involved with the Aerospace Innovation Hub. One, not to just contribute to the growth of what we're having here in the ecosystem, but because they generally are interested in building up for the long term. And we're not looking for, someone who just wants to sponsor the Innovation Hub and not take part. We're looking for those strategic partners that want to be with us for like 5-10 years. We want to work with multiple projects, engage them as often as we can, and have them as members for the hub.
Well, and I mean, again, that's, I've seen the success of what Innovate has done here in Alberta through many other hubs, obviously, and being part of that for a lot of years. I clap every time, and even if I have questions, or if we want to look at something, even with, I'll reach out to a Peter or to a Maris or a Nima or somebody and say, hey, what do you guys think of this?
Yeah.
Like, again, it's that plethora of knowledge that we have here, and the ability of us to work together and share that knowledge, makes us great. And again, I'm talking with Mike, the director of the Aerospace Innovation Hub. Click on the website in the comments section if you want any more any more information. So with your programs, if Jade's defense company wants to get started, how do I go about? What do I do?
Well, I think the first thing is just reaching out to the Aerospace Innovation Hub, making sure we're the right fit for you, right? There are other organizations here within Calgary that are supportive to us, from groups like the Hunter Hub to Platform Calgary. And if you're not within Calgary region, say you're Edmonton, there's Edmonton Unlimited. We just want to make sure that we provide the right guidance. And I think for us, the biggest differentiator from those other organizations is we can be more industry specific through our strategic partners and through the mentorship programs that we have. So we'll bring you in, and depending on the stage you are with your company, are you at the very early stages where you're at ideation and you don't even know how to set your company up? Can we get you set up with a mentor that shows you how to register your company? How do you protect your IP? What type of funding is out there and possibilities for you? Or the other side is, you're an established company, you're like at a TRL level 4, you just need to connect, and you don't know what events are out there that are going to be beneficial to you. Maybe you have no connections in the ecosystem. And that's where, we play a big role in knowing folks like yourselves and who's in the ecosystem that would help them take that next step to commercialization. So it all really does depend on the state that you're in with your startup, but we do have support at all different levels, depending on from ideation right to commercialization.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And again, website in the comments section, just click on it. I know it's relatively, it's been how long? It's about just maybe a year.
Yeah, we officially opened the doors at the Aerospace Innovation Hub in
Yes.
January. We started having our members start registering in February. It is a great location. It's well lit. It's, we're hoping to have more members there. And, what we're trying to do is build traction to the Aerospace Innovation Hub. We want to make this more of an event space and a co-working space and really where ideas come together. So we're actually going to be doing a couple open houses here soon. So stay tuned for what we post on our website around that. But yeah, it's a fantastic space, and we really I enjoy being there. I'm there 3 to 4 days a week, and it's fun being at the airport. You see people coming in and out. You're always wondering what everyone's story is coming through there, but it makes for a fun place to be.
Oh, for sure. So I know it's relatively early days, but if we're going to take some short-term goals, maybe some long-term. So what's next for the hub?
Well, one of the biggest things that we're needing to do is get that awareness out there, and I think along with the Aerospace Innovation Hub, it's something that Alberta needs to do as a whole. Where we talked about it before. Why would an aerospace company or defense company want to be here? Just to have a stronger messaging with everyone across industry. So if we're kind of seeing ourselves as being early stage and fragmented, the first step really is being more cohesive as a region about what we're doing. And that means branding and making sure people are really well aware of who we are as an innovation hub. So that'd be the first step. The second would just be really building up our membership, getting anyone who's ever had an idea in aerospace, aviation, defense, working with us and seeing what we can do to help promote them and build them up. And then the third thing I want to see is more strategic partners. I want to see those companies that maybe you'd see traditionally out east in Canada want to make more of those investments out west and being part of the Aerospace Innovation Hub, branding themselves with us, working more closely with us, getting involved in market and out of market. So those are kind of, I'd say, the 3 short to long-term goals. And eventually, I want Alberta to be seen in really Western Canada as a whole to be seen as having that aerospace innovation expertise outside of just what's Quebec, because it does benefit Canada as a whole. If we can have 2 regions across Canada that have mutually beneficial relationships, and we can say, yeah, this is what we're doing out in Quebec and this is what we're doing out in Alberta, that's great for the economy of Canada as a whole. And I think we're already working with BC, we're working with Saskatchewan, we're working with Manitoba. We're trying to talk to their post-secondaries, because if we can be that hub for Western Canada too, we're happy to expand that reach. And I've had conversations with Prairie's Economic Development Canada that's what we want to do, and we're happy to support people from other regions at the hub. We're not just Calgary specific. We'd love to do as much as we can for everyone.
Oh yeah, stronger together. We've been hearing that for a while now across Canada and other terms, things along those lines.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I'm talking with Mike Attersall, the director of the Aerospace Innovation Hub. Click on the website in the comment section for direct access to that. And, we talked a little earlier, we kind of, the guests, you guys come on and I talk about how much I love Wednesdays, and it's such a great day, and it sets a tone to talk about with incredible people like yourself that have been involved in our ecosystem and have a plethora of knowledge of how how it was going then and how we're doing, how we're going now. And I love that. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge. But I do have, one more question, and I'm going to put a little bit of a spin on it because it is for a hub. So, if you had one piece of advice for a company on why they should get involved, I know we talked a little bit about it, but really, one thing that they should do to get involved and why they should be involved, what would that be?
Well, I think it's, where do they want their company to be? Do they have an innovation piece to what they're planning to do? How early would they adopt new innovation? How active do they want to be in being an early adopter? Are they going to be a laggard when it comes to technology? So I think the strategic partners we talk about, they're the ones that I want to see an eagerness to work with those startups, support, they have an ambition to support community, but also adopt what's coming out before anyone else, right? So that's my advice to those companies is like, take a look at yourself, see where you're going in terms of how innovative you want to be, and how can you actively be involved with the community in finding those new innovations or supporting those new innovations.
And you said, as you said earlier, even if you are a TRL1, it's never too early to have these conversations with you guys.
No, 100%. Yeah, and it is one of those things too. And going back to the defense side, I think for most of the partners that we have and the members that we're working with, is there's going to be the civilian side first and commercialization. But we always say to them, if you think you want to go dual use and be in defense, you should be noting this early in your website and talking about where those defense applications are. So yeah, get involved early, have these discussions. There's no wrong time to have them. Get involved with us as soon as you can.
Well, great answer, and obviously I'm a fan, as you know. Like you can see me drooling a little bit over every time I have somebody from Innovate Calgary on, because I just love everything that they do, and I'm so happy that they keep me involved.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't even be here like if we didn't have the support from our ecosystem. So like our partners at Opportunity Calgary Investment Fund, they're a big funder for us. Same with Prairie's Economic Development Canada. And big thanks to the YYC Airport for even providing us a space. We probably have some of the most prime real estate at that airport, and we love seeing the traction of their team coming in and working with us and hosting meetings in the Aerospace Innovation Hub, and it's great because it becomes this natural collision location. But yeah, thanks to them and partners like Chapter AI and WestJet who've all been involved in getting us off the ground. No pun intended.
No pun intended. I love puns. Awesome. Again, Mike, anybody wants any information, click on the Aerospace Innovation Hub link in the comments section. What a great conversation today. Thank you for coming on, sharing your story, sharing the Innovation Hub story, because I think it's just the next step in many great things that are happening in our province. So if anybody has any questions, please put them into the chats. I was hoping we would have some today. Unfortunately, we didn't. But if you have them there, we will answer them if you're watching this after the fact. And, Mike, thank you again for your time today. I look forward. Have fun golfing tomorrow at the Plug and Play event. And unfortunately, I won't be there. I've already golfed once this week in Toronto. So
well, thanks for having me, Jade. I don't know what I did to deserve to be on the show, but I really appreciate your time and consideration for having me. So thank you.
I really appreciate you coming on, my friend. And yes, I look forward to seeing you around. And for everybody else, have a great Wednesday. We have another guest the next couple of weeks. And then I think I'm off for 2 or 3 weeks because of Stampede and travel and things along those lines. But again, I look forward to next week. And again, Mike, thank you again. And I hope everybody has a great day.